Do you ever have a self-critic in your head or inner doubts? Ever? If you do, this video is for you. Let's go. Hey everybody, this is Antoine Dupont and welcome back to another episode with Webcast number 44 with Denise Jacobs. Hi Denise, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I am doing marvelous, darling. So for the few people that don't know you out there, I know there's a few people that don't know the world famous Denise Jacobs. Introduce yourself, tell us what you do for a living, and why you get up in the morning.
So what I do for a living. So I am the founder and CEO of my creativity consulting firm called The Creative Dose. I'm also a speaker, author, and obviously creativity consultant. And why I get up in the morning, or actually what I do is I work with companies and individuals within companies. I help them unblock creativity, ignite innovation, cultivate collaboration, and up-level leadership. And I do all of that through helping them unblock their creativity and silencing their inner critics.
That is awesome.
That's a mouthful.
Wow. So, like,
right?
You know,
that is why I get up in the morning.
Yeah.
That's why I get up in the morning.
Unblocking the inner critic or just getting rid of it, which is what we're going to be talking about today. And it's really interesting because I am dealing with that right now. With the critic and self-doubt, especially when you're up to something. And I was thinking, if you're up to something, if you're taking on a bigger game than yourself, is really developing myself as a public speaker and going out there, self-doubt will just show up. And it's been it's been hitting me on the side of the head. It's really interesting that we ran into each other, and that your topic and your area of expertise is self-doubt. I think there's no it's not coincidence. It's just there was a reason why you and I were supposed to be doing this today. I obviously self-doubt and critic. So when we talked before, you broke it down and you said there were three things that we wanted to address when you're dealing with self-doubt and your inner critic screaming loud and clear at you. And the first one was neuroplasticity. And as a common man, as a lemon, I have no idea what that is. So explain to me what neuroplasticity is and where is it located?
So where is it? So it is your brain. Your brain is neuroplasticity. So your whole brain. So neuroplasticity is basically the brain's ability to adapt and change in the face of new stimulus. In other words, it's learning, right? So whenever you have new stimulus, when you give your brain new stimulus, your brain will actually literally physically adapt and change. You'll build new neurons, you'll build new synapses. Old synapses will die and get used for the new ones, and it's a pretty amazing process. So what I say is neuroplasticity is kind of one of the foundations, kind of a three-legged foundation upon which the process of silencing the inner critic is built upon, right? So a lot of times what happens is when people have a really strong inner critic, they're like, oh, it's just going to be there all the time. As a matter of fact, I like to make a joke and say, your inner critic is there when you wake up in the morning and it sends you text messages like, good morning, I'm here to tell you you suck, right? Hey, how's it going? No, you're never going to make it on that project because you're a loser. Boop. Right? So like your inner critic is just like kind of constantly there. And the thing is that it's constantly there because it's a habit. It is something that your brain has gotten used to doing over and over and over again.
Well, why would we do that? What do we get out of it? It's like I'm sorry, my impatience is creeping in. I want to shut it up, but
No, I'll tell you. So it comes from, it's a protective mechanism. So it's a psychological construct that our brains make to help keep us from reenacting a hurt or a disappointment or a criticism that we've experienced in the past that was really actually traumatic on some level. It pops up and it says, I'll just do this before anybody else can do this, and I'll save you the trouble, or I will give you these thoughts which will direct you away from doing something that I think is risky. So just like you said earlier, like when you're starting to go after bigger pursuits, right? You're trying to up level your game and all this stuff. Your inner critic pops up and says, nope, do this other thing that's safe. And then you won't potentially get disappointed or, get criticized or anything like that was hard for you in the past.
Yeah, it's basically to keep us safe.
That's exactly it. It's a protective mechanism built to keep us safe. But what ends up happening is it keeps us stuck, right? Like, have you ever seen those, there's like a picture where it's like, here you are, here's your comfort zone. And then here it's got a big circle and says, this is where the magic happens, right? So your comfort zone is like here, and it's really small, but here is where all the magic happens. And your inner critic tries to keep you here.
Right. Or it's nice and safe. But I think it's in the reptilian brain, using Mark Bowden TEDx talk where I learned about that. It's more like, don't go there. It's risky. You don't know. It's just automatic. It's triggered the second you're trying to expand yourself, and it's kind of like It's just it doesn't make any sense, and I hear it, and I'm like, my only way to deal with it for me is keep on plowing forward. But quite honestly, sometimes it's challenging. So
so that's the kind of brings us to the second thing,
right? And it's mindfulness. Right?
And that's
mindfulness. Okay, got it. So neuroplasticity, basically what you're explaining is just our brain. So, just to recap and put it in a nice little box with a bow, neuroplasticity is basically our brain's way to handle things that are new, that we are going to expand ourselves and trying to keep us safe, and saying, why don't we just stay right there? We just all throw inner critic and self-doubt at us to kind of protect from our own ambition, I guess, right?
So actually neuroplasticity is what helps us get past that.
Okay,
neuroplasticity. So the habit is to stay in this little safe place, right? And if you keep doing that, your brain will basically wear a path, almost like a path in the forest, right? It'll just do the same path. But if you decide to start thinking different thoughts and you start going down this path, if you were in a forest, what would happen to this one that you stopped going down?
It'll grow back again.
It will grow over. Exactly. Okay. And then this one would be the one that's the well-worn path.
Right.
So neuroplasticity is what enables us to go to this other path and basically reroute what our brains are doing. So instead of thinking these thoughts, these old thoughts that are like, stay safe and stay in your comfort zone and all this stuff, to be like, that's nice. I'm actually going to think a different thought, and I'm actually going to do something else over here. And to start doing that, and then your brain will eventually adapt so that it starts thinking these thoughts, these new thoughts over here more, and stops thinking the old ones that are limiting less.
Okay,
That's cool. What neuroplasticity.
Okay, so
there's the bow.
Thank you. That with a nice bow.
You're welcome.
All right, now we're going into mindfulness. So teach me and others out there that are stuck in that self-doubt. Like, how do we, especially for guys like me that are like totally not Zen, or into yoga and whatnot, how do you practice mindfulness? Because I'm like go, like I'm just
go.
Yeah, but that's
so mindfulness for busy people basically is this. Mindfulness is really just our capacity to notice our thoughts, right? So like, just in the same way where you're just like, yeah, I'm usually busy and I don't like to sit and contemplate things. Well, that's you kind of noticing your behavior or noticing your thoughts, right? So if you are, again, thinking this like limiting, small, in your comfort zone thought, and you could say, oh, look, or you're thinking a self-critical thought like, oh my God, I suck so bad, that you could, there's a part of your mind that knows that you're thinking this thought, but doesn't identify with the thought. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like that you can actually, there's a part of your mind that says, oh, look, I just thought that thing. I just thought that limiting thought. And then again, you can be here. You could say, well, higher brain, mindful place. I can choose this thought and I can think this one, or I can come over here and I can think this new thought and I can think this one over here, right? So one of the things I do in my keynotes and in my workshops is I have people hold up their hands like this in front of their face. And I have them focus on one hand, and then I have them just slowly change their focus and shift their focus from the one hand, from their left hand to their right hand. And I say, the same way you did that with your attention on your hands, you can do that with your thoughts. As a matter of fact, if you're thinking thoughts that you feel are unproductive for you, put your hands up. Say, okay, the thought that I don't want is in my left hand, and the new thoughts that I do want are in my right hand. And make yourself shift your focus from your left hand to your right hand.
I'm doing it. Okay, very cool. That's a great way to actually add imagery, or actually a physical component of your own body, to seeing left and right. And I had heard that it's like not to squash it, but to actually acknowledge the thought. It's the inner critic. It's kind of like, okay, thank you for showing up again.
Right. Thank you for showing up. And I'm choosing something else, right? It's not to say like, it's not, when I have people do it, I'm like, is your left hand still there? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, do you care about it right now because you're totally focused on your right hand? And they're like, no. And I'm like, exactly. So it's not trying to, so what people often do is they say, I'm not going to think that thought. And that's the same thing of being like, I'm not going to think about elephants. And then what do you think about? You think about elephants, right? So instead of saying, I'm not going to think about elephants, you say, I'm going to think about raccoons.
You know what? I'm just thinking, and it's like I have two teenage kids, right? I have a 17 and a 14. And there's the thing is, you don't want to put in language what you don't want them to do. So if you say, and stay away from drugs, all they've heard is drugs, right? So it's
right.
Now the new question is, the new thing that we're telling them, my wife most of the time says, make good decisions. She sends them out, says, have fun and please make good decisions. So it's kind of like leave them with that in their head, that there's an expectation of making good decisions. But it's the same thing. It's kind of like tricking your brain of if you say that, that's what's going to show up, whatever it is. It will prove its point over and over again. All right, so mindfulness, that's actually a great exercise with the hands. It was just really really easy to do, and anyone can actually do that. Put the negative thought in one hand, put the positive thought in one hand, and then switch back and forth. Which one do you want to choose? The third thing was self-compassion. So talk to me about, what do you mean by self-compassion?
So self-compassion is basically our capacity to treat ourselves with compassion. So people often have compassion for other people, right? You're worried about the homeless, or you're worried about, battered women or something like that, and you have compassion for them. But a lot of times people will not have compassion for themselves, and they will treat themselves horribly mentally while they're being super nice and super, giving to other people. So what I tell people to do is that to treat yourself as if you were a friend. So if you're having self-critical thoughts, right? You're you're like, I'm never going to do this. It's not going to work. My work sucks. I'm never going to make, partner in the firm or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Act as if you were your own friend. So if you were somebody else's friend and they were saying those same things to you, and you were just like, no, you've got major game and you're super talented and all that stuff, what would you tell your friend to perk them up, right?
Yeah.
Take all of the things that you would say to a friend in the same situation and turn those and tell them to yourself. Now, one of the things that's really interesting about self-compassion is that people think it's this like new age, fluffy, like totally, like touchy-feely type of thing. But there's a really fantastic book by Kristen Neff called Self-Compassion. And she's a researcher. She's at the University of Austin in Texas, the University of Texas in Austin, I should say. And she's done a lot of research that shows that self-compassion actually does a lot of really cool things. It actually releases oxytocin in your body. So that's the comforting and kind of cuddling hormone. When you're self-compassionate, you actually change your body chemistry, which I'm like, that's just like worth the price of admission right there, right?
Yeah.
But then it also like creates resilience. It helps with giving you grit. It helps with like the way you perceive things. It's a really powerful tool, and people tend to discount it, but it actually is really powerful. And there's been actually another set of studies that was done where a guy worked with college students, and he had one group just like, when they were having a hard time, like, they just normally would go into a place where they were like really self-critical. And then another group, when they were kind of trained, when they were having a hard time, to be self-compassionate. And it turns out that the ones that were self-compassionate and self-supportive were more able to succeed and more able to reach their goals than the group that was self-critical.
Got it. So have more. Yeah, got it. And you know what? I have done a little bit of practice in this, because it just gets to a point sometime where the inner critic is just screaming, and you say, kind of like set back and look at what you've accomplished as opposed to what you've missed.
Yes.
Which is what I do. It's just, I'm really looking at what I've missed, all the shots I didn't make and all the opportunities that I just missed because I either was too late or, it was not the right, I was not the right choice at that time. As opposed to looking at all the achievement that I had. So self-compassion, that's actually, it's a very interesting exercise to actually put ourselves through. This is awesome. Thank you. So 3 things for
You're
all
welcome.
of us out there, my people out there, all the business owners and all the people that are up to something where the inner critic and self-doubt is screaming at you. Remember the 3 things, right? The 3 things. I should do it.
44.
They'll do it in French. Number 1, right? Number 1 is neuroplasticity. Number 2 is mindfulness, and number 3 is self-compassion. This is awesome. Thank you so much.
Right.
Like you're giving me a Monday. It's Monday today. Whatever you're going to watch that, but you gave me a Monday boost. So thank you so much. So Denise,
my pleasure.
If someone listens to this video and sees Denise and she's awesome, she knows her stuff and everything, how do people engage with you? I mean, you said you're a public speaker.
I am.
Obviously, you're open for any speaking engagement, but do you do consulting?
Absolutely.
How can people hire you?
Yeah, so I keynote conferences. I also do internal events. I also do corporate retreats. And then I also do consulting engagements. So, come into a company and actually do 90-day to year-long programs where I work with the team and really help them to like I said, unblock their creativity, ignite innovation, cultivate collaboration within a team, and then also help leaders lead better by silencing their own inner critics and being aware of the inner critics within their team as well, and having tools to deal with that.
Okay.
So, so people can get in touch with me by going to denisejacobs.com.
We're going to put the link in the
link in the thing. Email me, denise@denisejacobs.com. And if you want to look at my consulting company's website, it's thecreativedose.com.
Thecreativedose.com. That is, thank you. So Denise, thank you so much for doing
this
podcast with
me. Right. One last thing.
Well, wait, there's more.
Oh, wait, there's more. Right. And my book is Banish Your Inner Critic, and you can get that on Amazon.
Banish Your Inner Critic. You ordering
That's
that
right
now. Get on Amazon and order that book. Is it on Audible?
That's right.
Or not yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. You can get a paperback, which actually is a great gift for Christmas, because this is going to be released before Christmas. All right. So if you like this video, click on the like button and please subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss a thing. Now it's time to hear from you. Did you hear anything in today's webcast where you have questions for, or do you have questions for Denise? Put them right below. And obviously Denise is not monitoring this channel, but I will reach out to her and make sure she answers you. And if you have a question for me, then you put it there. And on that note, Denise, thank you so much for coming on doing this webcast with me. And I wish you a happy and prosperous 2019 coming up soon.
For you as well.
Well, thank you. All right, bye.
Bye.
But bbefore you leave, please subscribe, click the bell, and see you next time.